that could be a motion that if we decide to move forward with the housing and the garage, that we could make that we could pull that that CUP for that previous request.
Sure, yeah, if you want that to be a condition of this conditional use being granted, that's fine. And then I think I had that down when that previous conditional use was granted on May 4th. So on May 4th of this year, then that would go away. But because you're looking at potentially granting a different conditional use, then you can definitely put that, you can have that as a condition.
Brandy, is it apartments immediately to the east of this lot?
That is the Edgewood Living Center.
Assisted living?
Yep. And then there are 8 plexes. Are they 12 plexes or 8 plexes?
I think they're 8.
Over along 11th there. Another thing to keep in mind is this property. So they're proposing to do 3 12 plexes, which will be 24 units total. Oh, 3 8 plexes, which is 24 units total, which is also what would be the maximum in the R3 district as well. So they're not.
And I guess, since we're gonna open the public hearing for both, can you kind of describe what variances they're requesting too?
Yeah. So, and obviously the variances don't matter if the apartments aren't allowed. So, but that's why we'll take them as the separate actions. But they are requesting, now in this C2 district, obviously the commercial district has larger setbacks than a residential district. So that is the downfall of staying with the C2, is then there's the larger setback requirements. So the C2, there's a 40-foot front yard requirement, which would be this west side, 20-foot side yard, and 30-foot rear yard. So they are proposing a 10-foot side yard setback and a 10-foot rear yard setback. Now, that falls in line with the R3 district, other than that rear yard, as that requires 25 feet in the R3 district that allows for apartments by permitted use. So they would still have the 40-foot front, but then they would have 10-foot side and 10-foot rear.
The front yard requirement in the R3 is what?
25.
25.
Brandy, looking at the site plan, the garage building, what's the setback off the side yard for that? I mean, because it looks like that one's looking like it's not listed.
Yeah.
It also, isn't the front yard off of 7th Street? Why is the garage building only 20 feet back if there's supposed to be a 40-foot front yard?
Yeah.
In the C2, it says front yard is 30?
The 40.
Yeah, so that means we need to request a 20 feet setback there.
I will open the public hearing.
Okay, Les McElhaney. We're trying to fit within the box of the ordinance. Number one, get as much parking as we can. It still doesn't provide an obstruction or anything to the garage there. Gives you one more parking stall. And one, just trying to fit within the box of the ordinance to provide as much parking as possible. I guess was the reason there. We still kept the apartment building back far enough, and the garage building comes out a little farther, but it's pretty much straight run right there.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to go back to the question though. Brandy, did we advertise for a front yard variance for either the 25 feet for the 8-plex or 20 feet from the garage building?
No. The requested variances are for a rear and side yard setback.
Which is 10 feet on the north, 10 feet on the west and east, and then 10 feet, or it looks 10 feet for one building and 5 feet for the other on the south.
Yes.
Okay.
And as far as the site plan that was submitted, it's not required, and so then there has not been a review on what they've submitted. And just as we're talking about the site plan, obviously, from what was submitted for this agenda, it was known that there would have to be some changes as far as for turnaround areas for fire and emergency vehicles and garbage collection, all of those things. And that would all come into account, and we would review that. Once they know if they are granted the variances and the conditional use, and then apply for a building permit. So this site plan will change.
So site
But
plan
let's-
aside, why ask for, why not rezone? Why not go the R3 route with the 25 and 10 setbacks?
We figured that staying with the C2, it's still within that zoning, and it does transition from a C2 to an R3 to an R2. It kind of got us to the same point, and basically,
But the
You know.
variances aren't needed, pretty much with the R3.
yeah, basically encompassing it all in one. And that's why we provided, last time we were here, it was talk of the board that, they wanted to see the site plan and everything. So we brought the site plan, we brought the drainage, we've located the garbage. We've kind of made the provisions for everything that we've seen.
No, it looks really nice. I applaud the vision there. A nice use of the land there, and it's needed.
Rather than you guys approving something and we're being real upfront with it about it.
I'm just putting it back out there. It seems like a zoning change would be in line here. It would meet the needs for what the intended use is as well.
Mr. Chair? I just guess I want to make sure, Les, that you and Josh know that the drawing that you have here, you're going to have to shave 20 feet off that garage building and 15 feet off that eightplex on the north side, because there's no way that we can grant a variance without it being advertised tonight. And I guess, is that going to be okay?
No, I mean, not, I mean,
So what I'm trying to say is, I don't think you're going to be able to get your cake and eat it too with this request, because we can't act on, if your intention is to be building something in similar to what this is, you're going to have to ask for a front yard variance as well. And are we premature and acting on a site plan or a concept when we know that it's not what you want and it hasn't been adequately advertised?
So, and that is, the variances that you guys have before you are what the petitioners requested. So what you could do is still look at it for what is requested today, and I guess they could look at, because like I said, there's gonna have to be changes to the site plan anyway. They could look at other renditions of layouts, if they could make that work and maybe have their parking within that 40 feet up front. Obviously, there's all different ways to design a site. And then there was another point that I wanted to touch on. Oh, as far as if he would go with the rezone to R3, he would still need a variance to the rear yard setback. He's requesting 10, and they're required to have 25.
and part of that's due to the irregular shape of the lot, on the one spot where we're 10, that's to the corner, we're 40 when you get to the other corner,
Yeah.
What's the front yard, Brandy, in the R3 setback?
It's 25, and then it's 30 after you get over 9 units, I believe.
So would this be over 9 units then, if it's
Yes.
24? So it'd be 30. So they'd need even if they rezoned to do what they want to do, they would need a front and a,
5-yard setback
yeah. And
variance.
well, the garage, I think you're misreading the 20 feet. I think that's only 10.8 feet off the property line.
Yeah, okay, so 30 feet, they'd have to cut off the garage, but based on
Yep.
this design.
And they could just not have garages either. Whatever they would apply for with the building permit would be reviewed against our ordinances at that time. And just, I misspoke. So in the R3 district, it is after 3 to 8 units is when it's 30. So basically, all of R3 is a 30-foot front yard setback.
I just guess where I'm at with it is I don't see the point of granting, I mean, I think we're probably okay with the concept of apartments on this location. I think that's an easy lift. But I don't feel comfortable granting a partial variance, or then they decide to come in with a building permit, and then they have to come back and we have to hear a subsequent variance on this again, and we go through a whole new morass of the process. The applicant has already said right now that he doesn't want to shave off portions of the garage building or the eightplex, and so the question still comes back to the board: is this premature even to be talking about this? And maybe you should just kind of withdraw. Which then maybe gives them the idea that if we're gonna have to come back anyway, maybe the better idea would be to rezone it R3. The ask for the variance is gonna be a lighter lift than what you'd be looking for, asking for 10, 20-foot variances. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what the basis would be for granting the variance, where the hardship is. I think the closest thing that you have is you got an odd-shaped lot, and I think we want to support this, but you're putting 10 pounds of ham in a 5-pound sack.
So if I can offer a couple thoughts with the property itself, it is to the north. It has that's where there's the detention ponds. So there's no neighboring property there as far as a lesser setback. And then for the senior living to the east, oh gosh, where am I going?
How about from the pond to these houses?
They do have that turnaround area, and obviously are built out to the extent of their setbacks for this zoning. Another thing, I mean, let's comparatively, when we look at the lot size, so this property is 3 12-plexes. Same thing that is being proposed here, just to give you guys a idea. So 88,000 square feet, and these guys do have 41,000.
How about the?
Mr. Chair, I'm in agreement. I think, granting a variance on the east and the north is an easy ask, because you're not intruding, you're not going to be causing any, coming up close and encumbrances on adjoining property. I think the issue still is probably the front yard setback.
But it's not the same zoning district, though.
Yeah, and do we have a required green space that we need to meet? Or I also wanted to ask, how many parking spots are we actually required to have? I see there's 30 on this site plan, which I know could change, but what is our required for those two items?
1 per bedroom.
So we need 24. And then would the garage spaces count as a parking spot? So okay. So we actually have more like 40 parking spots. So it says the 24 units, is that 2 bedrooms per unit? Do we actually need 48?
That will be, that's what we will review when it's submitted, as far as how many bedrooms they will have on the site, and then what they are needing for. And unless you might be able to speak to that, of what you're planning.
We didn't, because we didn't feel we needed them over on the other boulevard off on what would be the setback. There could be more parking spots there. What I typically find is more like the 1.5 is more what you need. You're going to get some singles. These garage units, that's because we're going to have ground floor units. It's to attract your older tenant, and they want a garage. And for them to find something that's no steps, that's ground floor, in a reasonable price range of rent, that's not $1,500 or $1,800. And, we're trying to fit everything into the box here that we can, so.
Les, you're planning on having two-bedroom units, correct?
Yes, there'll be 2-bedroom. And we pushed the buildings out, to where it's not imposing. I mean, we've got the drainage way in the back, the green space of Edgewood on this other building. That's why we're back in the corner there, because that's where their green space is, to where you're not pushing building to building.
Are there any other questions for the applicant while I have him at the podium? If not, I will ask if there's anyone else from the audience that wishes to speak in favor or against this item while the public hearing's open. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. I do feel that, the first action is the CUP, and then it's the variances. And I personally feel like I agree that we could vote on the CUP, but it may be premature to vote on the variances. I don't know if we can table those or postpone those, or what the best.
Let's take it in order, Mr. Chair.
I'll make a motion to approve the CUP.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask if there would be a friendly amendment to that.
Sure.
Approve the CUP for multiple family dwellings on the site. And if those multiple family dwellings we move forward with that, then the previous CUP for storage containers be eliminated or goes away.
Move as amended. Is that the right, Roberts?
I think that would be the right way.
So do I have a motion and a second, sounds like?
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay. Motion by Colleen, second by Todd.
So I talked with the applicant here, and they're still kind of discussing, but like I stated, this is the variance that they requested. The site plan is not finalized, so they could do some shifting. But I do think that you should act on the variance that was applied for.
Well, we're on the CUP right now.
Yeah, so.
So we're at, with
So
motions.
we're going to do a roll
motions-
call on the CUP, I think, and unless there's any discussion. Sorry, Chair, I don't mean to be
Nope.
your.
Sorry, guys.
No, we're a team. Yeah, is there any discussion on the conditional use?
Okay, yeah.
Seeing no discussion, I will do a roll call on the conditional use.
Okay. Dargis Johnson,
Yes.
Cohane,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Brink,
Yes.
Aletsky,
Yes.
Spire. Case.
Yes.
Conditional use for apartments is approved.
And
The next part of that is the variance. And so I guess in front of us, there's a side yard variance request of 10 feet and a rear yard variance request of 10 feet.
So on the north, the east, and the south side, we would have 10-foot side, 10-foot yards.
Correct, if approved.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve those 3 variances for 10-foot setbacks from the property lines on the north, the east, and the south.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second.
Mike, I'm going to come back here and say that I think it might be premature, but if they can figure out a way to push the buildings 40 feet off 7th Street, meet the parking requirements, and I think those setbacks of 10 feet from those other adjoining properties are probably adequate.
I have a question. Now that garage building is going to be evened with that south eightplex?
I'm not looking at this design, I'm just saying, we're going 10 feet around, they've got to make it fit with 10 feet on all the sides except 40 feet off of 7th Street. And if they can't make it fit, they got to come back and ask for a variance from that. My suggestion to you, sir, though, would be is if you can't make it fit with the 40 feet, then you come back and rezone it to R3 is what my recommendation is going to be, and then you come and ask for a variance under R3 zoning. Because that's not as a heavy lift as going 10 foot. The variance isn't going to be as big of an ask.
Chair. So with that, is it 40 feet from 7th? Is there parking allowed in that?
I don't care. At this point, they got to make it fit.
But
Yes.
parking can be allowed in that?
Parking can be allowed in the setback.
Yeah.
up to, how close to 7th?
Again, whatever the design standards are, all I'm saying is they're asking to build on this postage stamp and be 10 feet off these and 40 feet off the 7th Street. If they can't make it fit, then they come back. We have the design of the buildings and structures and the parking would have to conform with the other parts of the city code, right, Brandy?
Yep, and the parking lot, though, can be right on the lot line in this district.
Second. Do we got discussion open yet or not?
We have a motion and a second, and we're at discussion. One thing I will say, it's, what makes granting a variance hard for me is that, 2 properties to the east, there's 3 eightplexes, and that property has 88,000 square feet, and this one has less than half of that. So just, someone else right in the neighborhood followed the rules, and now we're trying to do it in half the space. It's, just,
I think what they're going to end up finding that they're not going to get 24 units based upon what they're doing here and meeting all the requirements. It's probably going to be closer to half the units that the space is at to the east. You're not going to be able to fit that configuration to the same extent, I don't think, and have 24 units with that 40-foot setback. It's going to be tight.
yeah, unless you built higher or something, I mean, that,
Keep in mind too, with the R3 district, this is, the max density would be 24 units. Another thing just in mind is just our vacancy level of apartment units and the need for housing.
Affordable housing, I mean, we're trying to build.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
All right. Kays,
Yes.
Spire,
Yes.
Oletsky,
Yes.
Brink,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes.
Colhane,
Yes.
Dargis Johnson.
Yes.
motion is approved. Item 6 on the agenda.
I hope we don't have to see you in the future, Les. I hope we can make it fit.
Item 6 on the agenda is open public comment. Is there anything not on the agenda that someone here wishes to talk about?
Mr. Chair, I will speak in on this. At the last meeting, I believe Mr. Drake and I think it was Mr. Colhane asked about the park versus cash and lieu, and that is being addressed through the park master plan. I don't have any details on it. I don't know if Brandy has any more than I have right now, but that is being worked through, so I did take that to climbed it up the ladder, and that was my answer I got back. So it is being worked on. So.
Oh, really? I appreciate that. Yeah, it's always good to hear that didn't die on the vine. So no, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Tupper. Yeah.
Thanks, Randy.
Yes, thanks.
Any new business?
None that I have?
Any old business?
Nope.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.